I'm emotional just thinking about how faithful God was to me, how he raised people for me when I felt alone, when I felt like, oh, I won't be able to do this. How will I come to Canada? How will I do this big relocation without breaking down? And I wanted this more than ever. Like, I really wanted this more than ever. Oh my God, I'm crying on camera. Wow, okay. This video is going to be so refreshing to film. Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the channel. A ton of you joined this channel and I'm just like, I'm really excited. Thank you so much for subscribing to my channel. This is going to be the best community that you have been on, that you will be on YouTube. This video is going to be really refreshing to film. I have dreamt and I have imagined myself a lot filming this video, like from when I was in Nigeria up until this very moment, and I'm really excited. I'm really happy that I am finally filming this video. So from the title of this video, I am going to be giving you guys a major life update slash how I relocated to Canada. Give you guys a few tips because I genuinely do not think I am going to be posting immigration related content, just because like what worked for me might not work for you. That's one thing I know about this whole relocation journey and whatnot. Without any further ado, let's get right into today's video. Okay, so if this is your first time on my channel, please subscribe to my channel before we like dive into the video. Okay. It's just like a lot of information I have to remember because like I didn't take notes, so I'm just saying everything directly from like my mind and my heart and how I just remember it. I started my immigration journey. Like, I always knew I was not going to stay in Nigeria. The truth is that I just didn't know how to go about it. I didn't have the right information. I didn't have the right people around. I didn't genuinely know how to like navigate my way through the entire process. I started reaching out to a few people that I knew were in Canada back in 2020. Yeah, so 2020, 2021, I reached out to a few people. The person I was with at that time had a sister here in Canada, so I reached out to her like a couple of times. I knew what I wanted to study. I was so specific to the program I wanted to study, so it was like it's either this program or like it's nothing else. It had to be that particular program. So reaching out to her and everything, she was trying to help me out to see how we could get into the program because, well, it's a health related program and it's highly competitive in Canada. It's not nursing, don't worry. It's highly competitive in Canada, and she also didn't really like understand, because right now I just realized she also didn't really understand like how to go about it. She made a couple of calls to a couple of schools for me, but yada. That's by the way. Fast forward to 2022, which was last year. In as much as I didn't want to like bring that part of my life into this video, it's just very unavoidable to talk about it. So I'm just going to talk about it. So I was in a relationship with somebody that we kind of had like a common goal in terms of relocating to Canada. So I wanted to come to Canada, he wanted to come to Canada. Like, we were separate individuals before we met, and we realized, okay, we share common goals. So we started to pursue the Canada journey together. We majorly started checking for schools February of 2022. Like I said, I was very specific with the program that I wanted to do. It was either that program or nothing else. Like, it was if I can't get this program, I'm not coming to Canada. I'd rather stay back in Nigeria and continue my boring life. So we started searching for schools, started weighing our options, and we had a couple of things that we were looking into when we were picking schools. So if you have your biro and your pen, it's important you take this down, because I am going to come and tell you guys tips and things that other YouTubers that relocate to Canada do not say. And it's so unfortunate because when people start to relocate, or when people get to Canada, they start to like bite their fingers in regrets because they didn't put these things into consideration before coming to Canada. Mind you, Toronto is not the only city in Canada. I don't know why when people want to come to Canada, they just always look for schools in Ontario. Like, I don't get it. The first thing on our priority list in looking for schools was obviously find schools that had my program. That was the first thing. The second thing was find affordable schools. The exchange rate is crazy now. Until you come to Canada, until you get a job, you are still going to be spending in the Naira equivalent. Trust me, especially now with like the new governance and the new policies that has been put in place, it is crazy. So we looked at schools with affordable tuition, and the next thing was province, like a province that had a good immigration pathway. And by good immigration pathway, I mean a permanent resident. So I didn't want to go to a province that was going to stress me out when I wanted to become a permanent resident. That was another thing that I put into like consideration. Those were like the three major things. Those were the three major things we looked at when we started this whole immigration journey. First thing was the program, the second thing was tuition, and the last thing was the immigration pathway. So after we got that out of the way, the list we had kind of limited us down to the Atlantic provinces. So if you don't know what Atlantic provinces are, please search it up. But those are the other small provinces in Canada that is not Ontario or Manitoba or all the rest. So I'm talking about places like Nova Scotia, Newfoundland, New Brunswick, Prince Edward Island, and the rest. So we had like the schools in all those places, and it was time for application. Now fast forward to June, I couldn't find my passport, so I had to like apply to get a new passport. It was a tussle. I waited 6 months after my application for a passport to get my passport. It was crazy. I applied in June and I didn't get my passport in November. So I put out my first application to my current school now in July. Now when we had drawn out, oh, these are the schools that we're going to apply to, in the process of our research, we found out that my course was a very competitive course to get into, just as competitive as getting into the nursing program, but I am not doing nursing. So it was really competitive. I was really scared. I was like, am I going to get into the program? It's not like I said I have like the best results coming. Like, it's not like I have like the best WAEC results or have like the best degree. I'm not a first class graduate. I don't have all A's in WAEC, and these were major requirements that most of these schools were asking for. I put out my application for my school, and it broke me emotionally because I had to wait so long. Mind you, I waited 6 months before I could get admission into my program, into my school. So I applied in July and I didn't get the admission until January of this year. I applied July of 2022. It was emotionally draining. So while I was waiting, I didn't want to put all my eggs in one basket. The school I applied to was literally the cheapest I could find, or one of the cheapest I could find. I didn't want to put all my eggs in one basket, so I said, okay, let me try to apply to other schools. And then I started applying to other schools and I kept getting rejections. God. One of the things I learned from my relocation journey in terms of coming to Canada has to be learning to accept rejections. I genuinely had to learn to accept rejections. I can remember when I received my first and second rejection, I would cry. She knew when I started like my whole immigration journey, like trying to come to Canada, trying to relocate to Canada. I would call Shehu and cry to her, oh, this school didn't give me admission. I don't know why. I met up with their requirements, yada. And she would just be like, oh, don't worry, baby girl. Oh God, Shehu and I are so delusional. Because she would tell me, it's not your loss, it's their loss. If they felt they couldn't give you admission to your school, then it's genuinely them losing. And that kind of always made me feel good. Like, it made me feel good to hear. It just always made me feel, I'm like, okay, your loss, that kind of stuff. I started applying. I applied to a couple of schools in the Atlantic provinces and I got rejection in all of them. So now I had to consider applying to schools in Ontario, and I was seriously running away from Ontario, and I'm going to tell you guys why. Ontario has a very high cost of living. One, most of their schools, if not all, are really expensive. Like, you literally can't get a school for less than 15K, and I'm just like, I'm not paying that. I was trying everything to run away from applying to schools in Ontario, but I couldn't run away from it at the end of the day, so I started applying to schools in Ontario, and it was even worse in Ontario because everybody wants to go to Ontario, right? And because of that, they had like a whole lot of applications from a whole lot of people all over the world, and because of that, they were really big on the whole requirements. So you really have to meet up with their requirements before you can get into their program, basically. It was just like, I applied and I got rejections. I applied, rejections upon rejections upon rejection. Meanwhile, the school that I am currently in put me on wait list after like 4 months of waiting for the admission. I was placed on wait list, and if you know what wait list means, it just basically means that, okay, we've gotten your application and you meet up with our requirements, but we do not have available seats at the moment, so we're going to put you on a wait list, and when there is an available seat, we will then admit you. But I later found out that they basically put all international students on wait list. So as at November, they put all international students on wait list, and they were going to start dishing out admissions to international students in January. After I got like my last rejection in like October, I was like, I'm not applying again. Maybe God doesn't want me to come to Canada, because everything I was doing, I was literally carrying God along. I was just doing this whole, if it's not your will, let it not happen. If it's your will, let it happen. I didn't want to force anything. January was coming to an end, and I had still not gotten admission. I was getting fed up. And if you know the immigration, whatever of Canada, you can, it's not like the UK or the US, that you can literally just, you want to travel to UK or US next month and you're putting out your application today. No, you have to apply months before like your expected travel date to get into Canada. And I was supposed to be in Canada. School resumed for September, and as of January I had still not gotten admission, and this is for something I had started like 6 months ago. This is where like my testimony starts to roll in. The particular day that I was like, okay, I went up to the internet to look for another school that was offering my program for international students, and I found this school, but the school was not taking applications directly from students, so you have to pass through an agent to apply. And I was like, oh my God, because I knew I was going to do my entire process without an agent. I knew I was going to do my admission, my visa, everything without going through an agent. And with this school, you have a choice. So I reached out to the school that, oh, I'm interested in this program, yada yada, and all that stuff. So they sent me a list of all the agents that they were working with. I was like, I can reach out to any of these agents to pull out my application. So I reached out to an agent, and he was like, I was going to pay like 100K. So that 100K, 100,000 naira. So now 100,000 naira was going to assure me a seat in the program. He was going to do the work and just get me the admission. So I was like, okay, it's worth it. I discussed it with my family, and my dad was like, okay, we'll make the payments later that night. Fast forward to about an hour later, my admission came in to the school that I had been waiting 6 months for. It was crazy. That's when I just knew that, okay, like I was just really excited. I was like, yes, like, because it would have broken me if I had paid 100K only to still get the admission, because I wanted to go to this school, the particular school that I am in. I'm going to mention the school at the end of the video. I wanted to go to this school so badly. So when the admission came in, I was like, yes, yeah. I was like, oh my goodness, you guys, did you have to stress me? Did you really have to stress me so much? I was like, 6 months, what? Finally, I can start up my visa process. The requirement for the school is crazy. So after I got the admission, you're supposed to pay like a $1,000 deposit, a 1,000 Canadian dollar deposit to keep your seat in the program. And there was like a deadline. I think they will give you the deadline like 2 weeks after, like they will give you from the day they give you admission till like 2 weeks later to pay. So I paid the deposit, the 1,000 Canadian deposit, paid it, and there is a disadvantage to that. It was a non-refundable $1,000 deposit. So if you get your visa, the $1,000 counts towards your tuition. So you just know in your head that, okay, I've paid $1,000 from my tuition, so you just have to pay the rest. But if you don't get your visa, your $1,000 is gone. Otilo, they are not going to refund that money to you. So it was a thing of, okay, am I going to risk it? Am I not going to risk it? But I just knew that me getting that admission, I was definitely going to get my visa, because like I said, I was carrying God all through the process. I literally was holding Jesus by his garments like this. I just wanted God to lead the way. So after paying it, I went for my medical sometime around February. I did my medicals. So I did an upfront medicals, right? So after my medicals, I waited a few months just to like get my documents ready. Guys, I had to put documents. Oh my goodness. I had to put documents, like so many documents. Shout out to my daddy. I love him so much. I don't want to get emotional. Like, I didn't cry when I was living in Nigeria. I'm not about to start crying now. He was really supportive through the entire process. My dad was my sponsor, so everything that I needed for me to have a successful application had to be provided by my dad. So I and my dad were just like up and doing everywhere, going everywhere. Sleepless nights for me, basically, because I did my application myself with the help of my partner at that time. He had a better knowledge of relocating to Canada. I was also in a group chat. It's called the OJC group chat. It's a Telegram group that has like thousands of Nigerians trying to relocate to Canada. I mean, everything you need to know about relocation, you'll find it in that group. So with the help of that group and my partner and my research, we're just always like putting documents together, trying to not leave anything out. Like, I was making sure I was trying to checklist every single thing just so nothing is left out. I don't think I would have handled a visa rejection well, because it would have been terrible. I did my application myself. I put my documents together myself. I just made researches, and I was just like, I was up. In short, in the process, I nearly went blind because I was always up at night on my computer, you know, adding these documents, like putting this together and all that stuff. April, I applied. I put out my application the night of, if you guys don't know already, or I'm just going to say it, I go to Mountain of Fire. So the night of Power Must Change Hands program, there's a program we do in my church called Power Must Change Hands. So the day of the Power Must Change Hands, I just prayed to God and I told God, I'm putting on my application today. Admission has stressed me emotionally, mentally, physically, everything. I really don't want visa to stress me. So I prayed to God and I committed into the hands of God. I said, I'm putting on my applications today. It's in your hands. Let your will be done. And regardless of what the outcome is, give me the strength to be able to accept it. It took me roughly 27 days to get my visa. So my visa got approved 27 days after I applied. You guys, I am so happy. I am so happy. Today is May 5th and my visa application has been approved. Like, I'm so happy. God, everything is now beginning to make sense. I submitted my application on the 8th of April, and it was a public holiday, so they didn't receive my application till 10th and all that, and I've just been praying and asking God for favor, help. And I saw my approval, and this burden that was inside of me was just lifted. I was just like, now my life now is going on a path, like it's clear. I know where I'm going to, I know what I want to do. I'm just grateful to God. This is God. This is God. Don't worry, you guys get the dates when I make like my sit down video to give my testimony, because this is God. And I just want to say this, that if there's anything you want, if there's anything that seems hard, if you're in any situation that seems impossible, just relate to God, pray to God. I didn't used to be the prayer type, but then because of this entire situation, and generally because I was trying to like be intentional about my relationship with God, I prayed, I did vigils. Yeah, I'm just grateful. I'm just grateful. So just right before the next Power Must Change Hands program, I got my visa. So I was literally just going to church and say, God, can you remember last Power Must Change Hands when I came to cry to you that I wanted visa? The visa is here. So I was really grateful to God. Now this is where life started becoming crazy for me. Like, life started becoming crazy. 3 weeks after I put out my application, my relationship ended. Mind you, I and my partner at that time, like I said, were trying to relocate to Canada together. So while I was doing my application, he was doing his application, but we didn't want to relocate. We were not doing the application like as a couple or like as a common law partner. We're doing it as different individuals, but we wanted to come like together and all that. So so my relationship ended. A couple of things happened that I will not be sharing because it's really personal, but I had to make that decision for myself and walk out of that relationship. It was for the good, honestly. There were so many big decisions that had to be made, and I didn't want to say, oh, because I'm trying to settle down, or because I'm trying to relocate, then I will be making wrong decisions for my life. I am very careful and very picky about how I navigate my life. And there were just so many things that I had to think about and put into place and just like weigh when I was decided to do what I had to do. And I'm like, yeah, fuck it. I left, walked out of the relationship, and the worry now started to set in.
Should I just be honest with you guys? I've actually been going through the toughest heartbreak, and that is just really heartbreaking. Like, just really swept me off my feet. I don't know if I'm making sense. And it's just like hard to come to the realization that you have to live with this thing. You have to live knowing this thing. And I have to juggle that with figuring what I want with my life. And I'm just at this point where nothing is making sense. Sometimes I want to look at it like God is preparing me for something, and God is strengthening me for something, right? And sometimes it just doesn't make sense. Like, I'm just like, why? Right? And it's just really hard. It's just really hard. Right now it feels like existing is just really hard. And life is just really hard. And I'm just trying to like figure out what I want to do, where I want to be. Oh God. It's not cute. It's not cute at all. Well, you know, when there's life, there's hope. Now who die lose? Yeah.
At this part, I just want to shout out to my mommy. I love you so much, mommy. My mom really held my hands through that part of my life. It was painful. Ah, God. Hard girl like me. I cried like a baby literally almost every day. I cried because I had so much to worry about. I had seen my life with this person. It's more painful when you're walking out of a relationship and it's like you're walking out of it. Like, I feel like I would have handled it better if the person was leaving me, but knowing fully well that you like this person, you want to be with this person, but you just have to leave this person. So it was a very tough decision I had to make, and my mom held my hands through the entire process. I love my mom so much. God, I don't know what I would do in this life without my parents. There were a lot of counseling. I had to talk to a lot of older people that had better experience. There were advices here and there, and I did what I had to do, and my mom was like my greatest support system through that part of my life. Then after that aspect, the worry set in because I was really dependent on my partner in terms of relocating to Canada, and I was really not scared about the relocation because I just always felt like I had a partner. I wasn't coming alone. So coming into Canada, I had somebody to depend on. I had somebody to share like my emotions and everything with. So knowing that part of my life was gone and I had to do the whole relocation thing by myself, like come to Canada on my own, oh shit, I was always worrying. Like I would tell my mom, yeah, I don't know anybody where I'm going to. How will I survive? How will I navigate my way? How will I do this? My mom just kept saying, don't worry, God will come through. A series of prayers. I can remember nights that I would stay up to pray. I had vigils, fastings. I don't want to go to that part of my life. And in the midst of trying to do all these things, I had to come out and just act normal. But that was one of the reasons why I had to stop YouTube completely. There was no way I was going to be able to navigate all that. There was no way. I had to stop YouTube and just try to figure that out, that part of my life. And God is just amazing. If you don't believe in God, if you feel like having a relationship with Christ, having a relationship with God is just something you cannot do, or you've been looking for an evidence to hold on to God and believe in God, please use me as your evidence, because God has been faithful. God has shown me and proved to me that I can I will come through for you. Do not worry. The Bible wasn't playing. The Bible wasn't ranting when he said, do not worry about tomorrow. Because that was what happened in my life. I would normally just get the do not worry. I had tons of people, older people, because I wasn't even talking to anybody in my age group. I wasn't even talking to any of my peers. I wasn't even talking to any of my friends as regards to things I was going through. No. Because I just knew, I just wanted to hear from people that had the experience, like had way more experience than I did. And it was always like as if God was using these people to tell me, I got you, Tomiwa, I got you. A couple of days after my breakup, I met someone, and he I wish I couldn't talk about this. Like, I wish I will not talk about this on my channel, but like, the story will not just make sense if I don't mention it. I met someone, and coincidentally, he was already in Canada and all that, and he just kind of took over guiding me. He doesn't know me from Adam, has never met me before, and he just was good to me, was nice to me, started like helping me look for accommodation, helping me do this, helping me call people in Canada. I was in Nigeria then, reaching out to landlords and agents, and he just took it upon himself to do these things for me. And a few weeks to my getting to Canada, I also met a lady on my school group chat. She's Nigerian, she's Yoruba, already in Canada, in my campus. So I just reached out to her, and she also, like, guys, God busted my brain. I'm so sorry that I have to use that word, but I'm emotional just thinking about how faithful God was to me. How faithful God was to me. How he raised people for me when I felt alone. When I felt like, oh, I won't be able to do this. How will I come to Canada? How will I do this big relocation without breaking down? And I wanted this. I wanted this more than ever. Like, I really wanted this more than ever. Oh my God, I'm crying on camera. Excuse me. Okay, yeah. So, a few days to my getting to Canada, I had still not gotten an accommodation, and she offered me her place. Like, she just said, oh, come to my place, you can hang in with me for a few days while you like sort out like your accommodation and everything. And then I came to Canada. You guys have watched my travel prep, you guys have watched my travel vlog. If you haven't, please go back and watch it. So when I got to Canada, my luggage got missing. I was like, oh my God, you guys, is this really what you want to use to welcome me into this country? My luggage got missing, and they were like, oh, I should just drop an address and they'll deliver it down to my place. So I dropped the address, and when I got to Canada, so the initial plan was when I arrived at Moncton. So I arrived at Moncton, New Brunswick. I was supposed to sleep at an hotel that night, then the next day go over to her place. I got to Moncton 11 p.m. in the night, and the hotel that my friend, not the person I'm coming to stay with, the other person I said was really helping me out with like accommodation and everything, like trying to help me out with getting an accommodation, making calls for me, and just being a very, very sweet gentleman. He booked a hotel for me, and we couldn't find the hotel. Like, we literally couldn't find the hotel, and this was like past 12 midnight already. I was in that place where I'm like, oh my goodness, I can't find my luggage, and I have to now back it up with where am I going to go? And mind you, I got there 12 midnight. There was not the airport was not operating. Like, everywhere was literally closed. Didn't have like a phone number to call anybody, but good thing that the Wi-Fi in the airport was working. So I was like, what do I do? So I stepped out of the airport and there was a cab right outside the airport. And I was like, oh, hello, please, can you take me to the closest hotel to this place? And he asked me where my final destination was. I was like, oh, I'm going to Nova Scotia, yada yada. And he was like, okay, where you're going to is just 45 minutes away from here. If I take you to any hotel right now, you're going to spend a lot of money, because like most of the hotels were booked and the ones that were available were really expensive. So I just had to use the Wi-Fi at the airport. I reached out to my friend. I was like, please, I'm so sorry, I'm going to be badging on you this night. Please, can I come over this night? I shall explain everything. So she was like, oh yeah, sure, come. He drove me down to her house that night. I got to her house like 1 a.m. and she was so sweet, helped me out with my luggage, settled in. God, she's so sweet. Hi, God, the kind of prayers that my Eleda will be praying for her for the rest of my life. I will always pray for her. She was so kind to me. Like, she was meeting me literally for the first time. I settled down, I had my bath, I slept, woke up the next morning, and voila, my period came. If you know me, you know I have the shittiest period in the whole wild world. Like, my period is crazy. And mind you, the medication I would normally use was in the missing luggage. Just know that my first 2 days in Canada was terrible. I was throwing up, I was sick. She was even panicking, because imagine someone you're meeting for the first time that you offered your house to, next thing the person is falling sick in your hands. I had to tell her, oh, there was no need to panic, it's just a normal thing that happens to me. My other friend, the sweet gentleman I told you guys about, he got me an apartment. So God bless you too, love you so much, love you too, Tammy. So he got me an apartment, and I came to view the apartment. The apartment was like 20 minutes away from my friend's place. That's the person I was staying with. Viewed the apartment. I'm currently filming in the apartment. I have an empty apartment tour that will be coming up later, and a moving vlog, all that stuff. Just subscribe and just turn on my post notification. There's like content back to back. Anyway, it was an empty apartment. It was partly furnished, so it had like the fridge, the cooker, and all that stuff, but it didn't come with like a bed and all that stuff. So I still had to hang in with my friend for a while we like start to like run around to get a bed for me, get this. God, everything in this country is so expensive. I came to Nova Scotia. I am in Nova Scotia, and Nova Scotia is choking me with bills. So I imagine people in Ontario, how they are doing. I hope you guys are doing fine. And I ask God to give you the strength to go through this. So when I was moving to my apartment, there were so many things I had to get. This my friend here that housed me, like I said, sweet woman, sweet lady, love her so much. She really helped my life, literally. She followed me to get my bed. She gave me a set of cooking utensils, like all my pots and everything, free. She gave me a side deck, free. She was really like my big sister. It took me to do my SIN, took me to open my bank account, took me to get my phone number, took me shopping to like, because I didn't bring a lot of clothes because of extra luggage, took me shopping, took me like everywhere. Like, she and her friend that had a car, I just sat down in the car like a princess. They were driving me everywhere and I was doing everything. And this is someone that did not know me from Adam. There is no way somebody will come to me and tell me there is no God. There is no way someone will come and tell me God doesn't exist. I am a violent follower of Christ. So I'm just really grateful for how far God has brought me. It's been 2 weeks in Canada so far. Trust me, in the words of my friend, he would say, Tomiwa, you had a soft landing in Canada, and not a lot of people had that, or not a lot of people have that. It's been amazing. It hasn't been the best because I am currently in a town or city, whatever, that there are no public transportation. So if you don't have a car, you walk or you use a taxi, which is expensive. I'm praying. You guys should pray with me. You people should add me in your prayers that I get a job and I'm able to get a car as soon as possible, because it's telling on my body. I'm losing so many calories. I don't even have body. Me that I'm saying I want to gain weight. Yeah? I'm losing so many calories because I have to walk. But when school started, I was just like, I can't keep walking to school. School's like 30 minutes away from my house by walking, and it's like 10 minutes by driving. I'm like, I can't keep walking. When I got to school, my first day of class, I just tried to be cool with people in class, and I just asked one of my classmates, like, she had a car. I just asked her, oh please, I walk to school, really stressful, I have to be walking back and it's telling on me. I don't know if to be okay by you to be taking me home or picking me up. And she actually agreed to be taking me home. So throughout last week, we started classes last week, throughout last week she was literally the one taking me home. God bless her too. this is the definition of what I say, God will raise people on your behalf, because she could have just easily said, oh no, sorry, I won't be able to do that for you. But that didn't happen. I had sorted out who would be dropping me off at home after school. Like the next day or 2 days later, I met a Nigerian in our school too that had a car and doesn't live so far from me. So he also offered, I asked though, he also offered to be picking me up from home. So that part of my life was just set to, like, I don't have to be walking all the time anymore. So I have someone picking me up, I have someone dropping me off, and it's just been cool so far. That's just majorly like the summary of how I relocated to Canada and how my life has been so far and how like the world has been to me. Also, I trained how to make hair. So I did my training at SoFine Beauty Shop. I'm going to put up our Instagram handle here, so you guys should check her out in case you want to do your hair, in case you want to train. She's an amazing lady. Oh my god, we literally moved from me being a trainee to us being like really good friends, sisters. I'm like her junior sister right now. So I train how to make locks, how to braid, how to install hair, anything beauty that has to do with the head. I can do everything, just know that. So if you're in Nova Scotia, you need a braider, you need any kind of service that has to do with the hair, please reach out to me. I'm available on weekends, not on weekdays because of school. Yeah, and I'm grateful to God. I did my application myself. Please, if you're trying to relocate to Canada, don't let any agent fool you. I had a friend that when we met each other, she had her visa denied and she used an agent, and I just kind of guided her through like 1 or 2 things. It doesn't mean I can guide anybody. Please, just everything you need to know is online. I will try to see if I can get the link to the OJC group chat and put up the link in my description box so that you guys can join the group chat for people that are trying to relocate to Canada. Please do your application yourself. Trust me, it's not as hard. It's just time consuming, but nobody can do your application better than you can do your application. At the port of entry, I was just asked my program and my school. Yeah, that was all I was asked. My first port of entry was at Montreal. I don't know if that's how it's pronounced, but I pronounced it as Montreal. And now I'm in Canada. Period. So I just want to say a very big thank you to a few people. My parents, at different points in life, they were my strength. I want to say a very big thank you to Sheol. She was literally like the only friend that actually knew everything that I was going through, all my psychological stress and everything, and she was amazing. She has actually always been an amazing friend. I wish I could be a good friend like that. Like, she's better at being a friend than I am. I'm still working on myself to be a better version. Also very grateful to Rachel, one of my friends too. She too has been amazing. She also has been very encouraging and everything through the entire process. Grateful to the other friends, that just everybody that played one role or the other in my life. But I'm most grateful to Shay and Tammy. They were the people that made coming into Canada not as grievous and stressful and as painful as I thought it was going to be. And yeah, you guys, I'm in Canada now, and I'm just like, so I don't know if there are any questions. Please drop your questions in my comment section. I will just try to like do like a Q&A sort of video where I just like answer your questions. You can send me, yeah, and follow me on Instagram and on Snapchat. I rant a lot on Snapchat, like everything I go through, I literally rant about it on Snapchat. So follow me on Snapchat. I'll put my Instagram, my Snapchat. You'll see it at the beginning of the video. It's also at the end of the video, but I'll still put it like on the screen. And yeah, I think after this video, the next video will be my first week in Canada. I already filmed it. It's already up, but it's not up yet. Like, it's going to be up on Friday. So all my videos will be dropping every Friday. So turn on my post notification. I think after that one, I have an empty apartment tour, and after that one, like subsequently, you guys just be getting vlogs. Yeah. So thank you guys so much for watching my video, and I'll see you in my next one. Toodles!